Garrett Crochet may not have looked his sharpest on Tuesday night, but he is certainly still well knee-deep in conversations to win the Cy Young.
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, and welcome to Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Gabby Maljanian, former ESPN social media associate and current host of the Boston Balling podcast as well. And I'm here to bring you the latest in all things Boston Red Sox, Monday through Friday, straight to your favorite podcast feed. And it's completely free. So make sure that you don't miss out on a single episode because we are here every day. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. I'm going to be talking to you a little bit more about that later, but first, the Red Sox fell against the Toronto Blue Jays again last night, this time by a score of 6-1, in a performance that the Red Sox bats were very much cold, both literally and figuratively, as they couldn't really get anything going offensively, but it was also a freezing cold night in Boston. Felt like about 25 degrees out there, which is just not okay for baseball season, in my opinion. It should just not be allowed to be that cold when it's baseball season. It is April now. That is December weather. So lots of guys had to grind through that tough, cold condition on Tuesday night. And one of those guys was Garrett Crochet. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about him and his start on today's show, as well as concerns about the defense. Do we feel like they are improving from last year? Do we feel like there are still some concerns there for the longer term? And also, Josh Winckowski got called back up. I am going to be talking a little bit about him, as I did speak with him at Woo Sox Media Day. So be sure to stick around until later on in the show to hear a clip from that. But Garrett Crochet, when you hear that name, you think ace, especially for the Boston Red Sox, a team that didn't have an ace before they acquired Crochet. And they paid a pretty steep price to get him. And there were always going to be some question marks surrounding what type of pitcher he truly is, because he didn't really have a huge sample size of pitching time in Major League Baseball. So the question became, okay, is he really this dominant pitcher that the Red Sox feel like he could be or not? And the answer to that is yes. I mean, he made his third start of the season on Tuesday night. But don't forget that his second start, he went 8 innings, giving up no runs. So that really set the tone for Garrett Crochet and what we can expect from him when he's at his best. Now, granted, he didn't necessarily have his best in his first start of the season either, as he could have gone deeper than he actually did. And he recognized that he feels like he hasn't reached that dominant level yet this season that the Red Sox want him to get to after those 3 starts. He really battled through 5 innings on opening day, and I even said after that game that it would have been nice to see him go a little bit deeper in that game. His pitch count was just really high, so they pulled him. But in this game last night, he was able to throw a little bit longer, which was good and was nice to see. Went 5 2/3. And in that weather condition, it's very difficult for a pitcher to maintain a level of consistency. And we certainly saw that his command was off, because he did walk 4 hitters in the game. He gave up 5 hits and 4 runs. However, only one of those runs was earned, and that was on a home run that was launched by George Springer. But the other runs were unearned because it was primarily his defense behind him that let him down. He did strike out 5 in the contest. So we have to keep in mind that only one of those runs was charged to him. Now, it is partly his fault, because I did mention the walks. I mean, he can't be giving up that many free passes to even allow guys to get on base in the first place to lead to some of these errors. But the Red Sox fielding errors behind Crochet made his outing feel like it was a lot worse than it actually was. But he certainly didn't have the best command in the game. But people forget how good of a pitcher Garrett Crochet really is. And Alex Cora even recognized after his start last night that he did what he could. He said he did a good job, tough conditions. George Springer hits a home run and we don't make plays. That was it. He did more than enough. He did a good job. So Cora definitely felt like he grinded through it as best as he could. And he recognized that the conditions are very difficult because locating and executing pitches in the mid-30s temperatures of April is definitely no easy task on a gusty night at Fenway. And Cora said very difficult. I went out to the mound twice and I felt it. It was windy too. The dugout was okay, but you go out there and it was tough. We always complain about the weather in April. We don't in October. It is what it is. So he brought up to Cora's point that the wind added to the effect, and you could see some balls being pulled that were hit to the outfield because of the wind last night also. So that definitely played a factor in the way that Garrett Crochet went about his outing. He changed his grip a little bit to try to make it so that his pitches could be a little bit more controlled, and it wasn't all that effective because that was just very strong. So he definitely deserves a little bit of a pass. I don't expect the walks to be an issue with him moving forward. And I still very much feel like he is going to be in the Cy Young conversation all the way up until that happens. All the way up until a winner is crowned. Garrett Crochet is going to be somebody who is going to be in that conversation. Why? Because he has a wide variety of pitches that he utilizes. His four-seam fastball, he uses the most 43% of the time. That averages 96.3 miles an hour. Last night, it was traveling at about 94. Again, part of that could have been the freezing cold temperatures. He has a cutter that he uses 38% of the time that averages 90.1 miles an hour. The sinker, he uses just 7% of the time, but it travels about 96 miles an hour. The changeup, 6% of the time, averages 90.8 miles an hour. And the sweeper, which he did throw a few times in last night's game, he uses just 6% of the time as well. And that travels at a rate of 83.5 miles an hour. So he essentially has 5 pitches that he can go to, but primarily uses the four seam and the cutter. Those are his strongest pitches. Those are his put away pitches. Those are the ones that you should expect to see from him a lot more. But what makes a Cy Young winner? Somebody who consistently can pitch deeper into games and consistently can put up zeros or quality starts along the way. And if you look at Garrett Crochet's last start of 8 innings and no runs, and you look at his start from last night of 5 2/3 with just 1 earned run, you could see that as a solid outing. Obviously, if you take out the walks, it looks a lot better. But in the grand scheme of things, he's not giving up a lot of runs, and he knows how to handle himself very well when there's base traffic. That's one of the biggest things that I pick up on with Garrett Crochet every time he's out there is he has great composure on the mound. And if he has base runners, he's not rattled by that. And he needs his defense to make the plays in order for him to be more successful out there. And that was definitely another tough thing about Tuesday night. But a Cy Young winner has a big arsenal. They have a lot of pitches that they can go to. And I know I keep preaching arsenal as of late, but it really does work. You need to have more than 2 pitches up your sleeve that you could throw at any time to throw off an opposing hitter. And that's exactly what Garrett Crochet does, is not only does he have his main lockdown pitches, but he also has a couple other pitches that he utilizes a good chunk of the time to at least keep opposing hitters on their toes. And that's something that's going to get him very far in the rest of his career. He is in the 96th percentile for pitching run value and 98th percentile for fastball run value. In terms of chase percentage, he's in the 75th percentile, which is considered very good. Now, K percentage, he's only in the 59th percentile. Obviously, I do think he's going to generate more swings and misses. This is just based on where he is at as of right now. I can totally see the writing on the wall there for him getting more guys to chase and to swing and miss. So I'm not super concerned about that, but he did throw 107 pitches last night. So the Red Sox are definitely trying to push him a little bit more to be able to provide that longevity in his starts, because he, for one, had never pitched 8 innings before in his career prior to his second start of the season, and 107 pitches is a career high for him up to this point. So that's a lot for him to take on. And I was glad that the Red Sox brought him back out there for the 6th inning, because up to that point, there wasn't really a reason not to. He wasn't fizzling out, but he couldn't get out of the 6th. So Cora pulled him during the 6th inning, and the fielding errors were the biggest aspect of that. But when you look at Garrett Crochet, this guy is going to produce, and he's going to be a guy that's going to give you a lockdown performance the majority of the time. And it might not be every time, because every pitcher is going to have some tough outings, but he is going to be a guy who should consistently provide you with lots of value. And that's what I'm really looking forward to from him as the rest of the season progresses, is seeing our Cy Young candidate continue to crush it on the mound. What hasn't really been crushing it for the Red Sox lately is their infield defense. Are there concerns with that? I'm going to be discussing that next. Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. Personally, I love the no shells variety. It's the perfect grab and go snack for busy days. Whether I'm snacking at my desk, on a road trip, or just need a quick protein boost, they're always my go-to. And if you love cracking open every shell for that satisfying crunch, the in-shell options are a classic favorite. Get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. These things are so addicting and delicious. I promise you, you will get addicted. So purchase them at the store, because once you go to them, you're never going to look back. I promise you, just give them a shot. The Red Sox struggled against the Toronto Blue Jays on Tuesday night, falling 6-1 in a game where the bats were just asleep. The Red Sox recorded just 8 total hits as a team in a game where they just scored 1 run. They just could not get anything going offensively. Jarren Duran went 0 for 3. Rafael Devers went 1 for 4, so he did record a hit. Alex Bregman, another snoozer at the plate, 0 for 4 on the night. And there were other players who did contribute. For example, Trevor Story recorded 2 hits, and Ceddanne Rafaela recorded 2 hits and an RBI. He was responsible for driving in that lone run for the Red Sox. So the offense is going to have nights where they are cold. That just is how it is. They are very much a team that will go on a hot streak and then go back to losing a few games. And I do worry in that regard that it's similar to last year, because last year's team was like the kings of this. They would go on this tear and it would seem like the Red Sox are back, and then they'd lose a few games and they'd start to struggle. And that just continued all season long, which is why they quite literally had an average season, finishing right at 500. They just had too many ups and downs and just too much of an inconsistent level of play. I don't think it's going to be that bad this year, because I genuinely feel like this year's Red Sox team is truly a better baseball team than last year's team was. Overall, a more talented roster, and they just have a lot more depth at different positions. I do think the weather the last couple nights has definitely played a factor in the Red Sox losing these games. I mean, they go from sweeping the Cardinals at home and putting up 18 runs on Sunday Night Baseball to not being able to produce a lot of offense in general in these first couple games against the Blue Jays. Definitely hoping that they can win the next 2 and split the series. So there are some similarities to last year when it comes to the offense, because of the wishy-washiness and having ups and having downs. But in reality, that's just the sport. Every offense is going to have slumps, and every offense is going to go on tears and hot streaks for a while. That's just because of the fact that it's a long season and you play 162 games. No offense is going to be hot every game, and no offense is going to be super cold every game either. There are going to be games where they are on fire. Even the worst offenses in the league are going to have nights where they're on fire. So that's why not only can you rely on a good offense to get you through, especially in the postseason, but you absolutely need the other areas of your game to also be on point as well. And that's something that I'm definitely concerned about a little bit with the Red Sox. Not only did the offense record 12 strikeouts as a team in the loss on Tuesday night, which is pretty bad, and that's an issue in itself. I already talked about Pete Fatsi on the show last week and talked about how he should be fired because the same approach at the plate with all of these guys is just not working anymore. It literally is the same thing for all of them. And they're swinging and missing at a lot of pitches because they seem to be conservative, some of them, and they're looking for certain pitches. And I like how some of them are a little bit more aggressive at the plate than others, like Wilyer Abreu and Christian Campbell, which is why they are finding success at the plate in the early going here. But this approach that Pete Fatsi is taking with the offense, I truly don't feel is working. So that's definitely a concern about the offense. But you flip the switch, and there are other aspects of the Red Sox game that hasn't been on point, and that is especially the defense. And the Red Sox did not have a good defense last year or the year before that. And that was something that they were hoping to improve going into this year based on some of the moves that they made this offseason. But the improvement still has yet to come to fruition. The Red Sox made 2 more errors on Tuesday and led the American League last year and in 2023 in errors. So that's pretty bad. Right now, this season, they currently lead the AL with 12 errors, and it just is following the same pattern as the last couple of years. The Red Sox ended up falling back to the 500 mark at 6-6 through 12 games. Now, I just don't want them to be average like they were last year. However, I know that things can improve. And when you have the reigning Gold Glover at third base, the defense will get better. Alex Bregman is not going to play bad defense all season long. He had a bad throw in Tuesday night's game that cost the Red Sox, but generally he is a very good defender, and we've seen it with his swift and sharp movements and his ability to cut across the diamond very effectively and efficiently and quickly in a lot of different scenarios this season already so far. Again, I feel like the conditions are part of that. I mean, he's used to playing in Houston, a place where it does not get nearly that cold. So that was definitely part of it on Tuesday night for him. I mean, Trevor Story, again, fantastic defender. That is his biggest asset that he brings to the table. I am not concerned about the defense longer term. However, it is something that has been very frustrating to see because it has cost the Red Sox majorly. And I bring up a guy in Cooper Criswell who got sent down to AAA, but the reason I'm bringing him up is because there have been 2 scenarios this season, both in the home opener last Friday and on Sunday Night Baseball, in which he came in to pitch and the inning should have been over well before it actually was. And then his defense behind him let him down. And that's just becoming too bad of a habit for this Red Sox team to fall into. And so that is something that they need to fix. They need to be sharper defensively to support their pitcher, because we saw too many times last year the Red Sox having these defensive blunders and it costing them, and then the pitcher ends up having to continue the inning when they should have been out of it, and then things start to get messy. And that's what happened with Garrett Crochet in the 6th inning last night. You need to play better defense, and by acquiring Alex Bregman, the reigning Gold Glove third baseman, by having Trevor Story, who's finally healthy now, at shortstop, another fantastic defender. And then you have Christian Campbell, who's been able to play a relatively serviceable second base, definitely has had his blunders as well, but generally is pretty serviceable. And then with Casas at first base, you would hope that the Red Sox infield defense would be drastically improved. But the fact that they once again, for the 3rd straight season as of right now, are leading the AL in defensive errors, that is not good. Are we panicking? Absolutely not. We should not be. It's still the beginning of April, still so much time left in the season. But I do understand that it gets frustrating when you feel like you're watching the same mistakes over and over, and you feel like they haven't really improved from where they were last year in that regard. I promise you that they have Again, everybody deserves grace in these conditions, but it was definitely notable that Alex Cora even pointed it out and said that they couldn't play defense and they couldn't make the plays that they needed to play in the game last night. And he admitted that that just isn't going to cut it. So hopefully their defense continues to improve moving forward. And also the 35-degree first pitch temperature marked the third coldest at Fenway Park since Baseball Reference began tracking this figure. So it's pretty insane that it got to be that cold come game time. But Crochet's 107 pitches, only 65 of those were for strikes. So it really does show that that type of weather really does something negatively to these players. They've only scored 3 runs over the last 2 nights, so definitely need to wake up the bats a little bit more. But that defense is a big storyline here because they cannot continue to make mistakes at that rapid of a pace because we want to see progress. We want to see improvement. And Alex Bregman is not the type of guy who is going to consistently make errors. That is just not him. He is too good of a fielder for that. So I am not super concerned about it in the long run. Definitely something that the Red Sox need to be cognizant of. And their guys just need to be sharper in reality. I mean, Zach Kelly came and pitched out of the bullpen in Tuesday night's game. He came in for Crochet and threw 1 2/3, giving up 4 hits and 2 earned runs. He walked 1 and fanned 2. So he needs to be better. Zach Kelly is a pitcher that struggled last year, and we saw him not be as good as he could have been and as effective as he could have been. And a lot of that was due to overuse for him. But I hoped that he would show some improvement going into this season. And he just did not have a good outing. And he's somebody who has been inconsistent. So I'm looking for more consistency from him. But overall, just a frustrating game for the Red Sox. And no, definitely not time to hit the panic button, especially about the offense. That offense has the ability to break out for a bunch of runs on any given night. They're just going to have nights that are not their night. The pitching, on the other hand, needs to be better. But coming up, I'm going to be talking about a guy who made a surprisingly good appearance for Boston on Tuesday. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. When I started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending on food delivery. Now I budget smarter and save more. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. I know my husband and I were actually talking about recently how we have to get better with some of our spending habits. So we are 100% continuing to utilize Monarch Money, and it has been a lifesaver for us. So definitely utilize it. The Red Sox made a few roster moves prior to Tuesday night's game against the Blue Jays. Now, their bullpen being kind of taxed because of the fact that they've had a lot of games on consecutive days recently without an off day, and guys have had to throw a lot of innings. They were trying to conserve the pen, so they had called up Robert Stock to pitch in Monday night's game, pitched 2 innings, looked pretty good, but then they DFA'd him on Tuesday, which is a little bit harsh. Just call him up for 1 day just to DFA him. The reason he was primarily called up was to give some of the other relievers some rest, and they sent Cooper Criswell down to AAA because he had pitched 3 innings in Sunday night's game, so it was going to be a little bit of time before he's available again anyway, so it was in an effort to conserve the pen. So they called up Robert Stock and then DFA'd him, so they needed to fill that roster spot, so they called up our friend and familiar face, Josh Winckowski, a guy who started the season in AAA and was very much not happy about it. Now, he struggled last year, and that was something that he was trying to prevent going into this season, on top of calling him up the Red Sox did do what I had said they likely would do by recalling Blake Sabol from AAA as they placed Connor Wong on the injured list. And Sabol is a guy who is not particularly known for his defense, is pretty weak behind the plate, but he is a better offensive catcher than Carlos Narvaez is. So hopefully we get a good mix of things from both of those guys. But Josh Winckowski was placed up on the major league roster on Tuesday, and he actually pitched pretty well. He had an outing that consisted of 1 2/3 innings, and he gave up 0 hits and 0 earned runs, didn't walk anybody, and struck 1 batter out. So he definitely had good stuff that he brought to that contest on Tuesday night, and rightfully so that people were concerned about it because of his struggles both last season and in spring training. But he came into the game after Zach Kelly, who hadn't looked very good and had given up a couple runs. So it was definitely nice to see a guy come out there and get through the inning plus that he pitched pretty smoothly. So I had spoken to Josh Winckowski at Woo Sox Media Day, and he talked to me about how he really wasn't feeling confident going into the season and wasn't feeling good. And I asked him a little bit about what kinds of things he was working on in his technique and mechanics to try to get back to the majors. So take a listen to that full clip. How are you feeling about the season overall? Like, are you, feeling pretty good going into this season?
No, absolutely not.
No?
No, I don't feel good at all.
Okay. Being part of the Red Sox organization, you've probably gotten a lot of good tips about, your pitching. What good takeaways and tips have you gotten from the Red Sox pitching coaches and development to help with your game?
We're going to be losing a lot of money.
I don't really have an answer for that one, to be honest.
Okay, that's fine. What are kind of your goals when it comes to getting back up to the majors?
Yeah, I think we got to get the velo back to what it's been at different times. 23 was sitting more, 97, 96.
Yeah.
Last year was down just a little bit. So probably just throw harder and throw a lot of strikes. I think it was another 23. I usually just crushed just filled up the zone and was ahead a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of the at bats ended in 3 pitches or less. So those are probably just the main things I'm trying to get back to.
So as you can see, Winckowski definitely had some frustrations about having to start the season in AAA as opposed to in the majors, but he did struggle during spring training and he had his struggles last season, but he was determined to get back onto the major league roster, and he was in last night's game and he looked good. So maybe the Red Sox will continue to give him that opportunity to pitch at the major league level. He allowed 4 runs, 3 of them being earned, 12 hits with 1 home run and 1 walk while striking out 9 in 6 innings, 2 relief appearances for Worcester this season. He also did struggle quite a bit in spring training, giving up 12 runs, 15 hits, 2 home runs, and 6 walks while striking out 4 in 7 innings. So the things that the Red Sox were seeing didn't make them feel confident enough in him being able to start the season in the majors. But now he's back, and Alex Cora said that he will be used as a bulk reliever who pitches multiple innings. So they are looking for people who can pitch more than 1 inning. And I think that was the biggest reason why Winckowski even got called up, was because he can be a multi-inning guy, unlike some other relievers. And Cora's just looking to fill his bullpen with guys who can pitch multiple innings so that they're not consistently taxing so many different relievers on any given night. But he has been working on a new downer slider while also throwing his 4-seam fastball more often. And he also has said that he's looking to throw his cutter in better locations. That slider looked pretty good in last night's game, and I can tell it's something that he had been working on. Alex Cora does feel like he's a good pitcher who has helped the Red Sox out a lot over all the last few years, even though he struggled in spring training. As far as his repertoire, it's been a mix of East and West. Now they want to go North and South. The slider, kind of get it down there, and the 4-seamer as well, make sure that that's in the strike zone, and they're just going to kind of see how it goes with him. He pitched the third most innings, 83 and a third, among major league relievers in 2023, but the 2024 season didn't go well. His ERA jumped from a 2.88 to a 4.14, and he got optioned to Worcester twice last season. Alex Cora said that one thing he was going to tell Winckowski was that they have to compete. At the end of the day, it really doesn't matter. Just throw that stuff over the plate and get people out. And he's done it before. I just don't want him to get caught up in the whole thing. I just got called up. What I'm going to do, just whenever they call your name, go out there and compete. And he's done it before. So Cora definitely wasn't speaking adamantly on I'm super confident in him, but he was at the same time saying, you know, he's been in this spot before, so I trust that he can get back to being this dominant force out of the bullpen for us. So we'll have to see how that goes, but I definitely liked a lot of what he brought on Tuesday night, had his command for sure, and was able to just have a breezy inning plus. So hopefully that continues as long as he stays up in the majors. I appreciate you tuning into Locked On Red Sox and making it your first listen today. For your second listen, check out all the new Locked On MLB game night shows. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. It's a good time recording with all of our fellow MLB hosts here throughout the network, and you can stay in the loop on everything going on in other games. So we will see how things go for the Red Sox. Hopefully they can take the next two here against the Blue Jays. Like I always say, keep the faith, go Red Sox, and I'll catch you on the flip side.